go to Canberra now. Joining us live is the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers. Treasurer, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. Surplus, we will talk about that in just a moment, but we've got to start with this COVID inquiry. It's been described as toothless, half-baked, a missed opportunity where premiers have been shielded. Do you honestly believe this inquiry is worth its salt?
Oh, of course I do. This is a really important opportunity to learn the lessons from the recent past so that we can anticipate and respond to pandemics and other crises into the future. It will be a comprehensive look at what the Commonwealth can do, how it can better discharge its responsibilities when these sorts of things happen, learning from the quite remarkable and incredibly difficult period that Australians have just been through.
But it was the actions of the states that caused the greatest personal and economic impact. The shutdowns, kids kept away from school, families not being able to say goodbye. When you talk about comprehensive, how can it be a credible inquiry if that sort of stuff is ignored?
Well, it will take into account all of the decisions that the Commonwealth took and all of the decisions that the Commonwealth will be asked to take into the future.
But not the states. That's the key here, Treasurer.
We take responsibility for our part of this. We take responsibility as a Commonwealth for the big, impactful decisions that our predecessors had to take, and often with our support, to be fair. And so our job as the Commonwealth Government is to take responsibility for learning the lessons from the past, to apply them to the future, so that the Commonwealth can make better decisions. Now, it's also important to remember, Pete, that there have been, I think, something like 20 different reviews and inquiries, and some of those have picked up some of the issues that you're referring to. So that will bring all of that together. There's nothing preventing the states from participating, making submissions to this review that
There's no coercive powers,
but
though.
I don't accept the characterisation that you've put and others have put about this review. I think it will be a really important opportunity to get to the bottom of what happened, the sorts of the decisions that were taken at a Commonwealth level and how we can make them better into the future, and that's where the focus should be.
I do get your point about the Commonwealth, but, you know, we remember very well the states were running the show.
Oh, there were substantial decisions taken out of here in Canberra, though, Pete, as well. I mean, we can't ignore that. You know, in my own portfolio, we're doing some work to learn the lessons from the waste in the JobKeeper program, for example. That was a Commonwealth program. It did a lot of good, but it also had a lot of waste, tens of billions of dollars wasted on businesses that were already profitable. Getting JobKeeper, businesses whose profits went up, got a lot of support. And so in each of these areas, there's some really substantial Commonwealth responsibility, and we need to make sure that if and when this happens again, and we'd be silly to assume that we won't get something like this in the future, then the Commonwealth's got a lot of decisions, a lot of levers that were pulled in the recent past. We want to make sure that we do a good job in the future, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, you've even got folks from human rights who are critical of this. I mean, so you've got to admit it's toothless, isn't it? With no coercive powers, without the states being involved. I mean, it is a toothless tiger, this one.
I just don't agree with you, Pete, and I disagree with you respectfully. I know that there are a range of views. I'm not pretending otherwise. There are a range of views about this. There's certainly not a unanimous view about it, and I think we've got it right.
I recognise this isn't your call, by the way, as well, but just one more final one on this one. Is it running protection for Anastasia Palaszczuk, who's up for re-election next year?
Of course it isn't. I mean, of course it isn't. And the people who make that accusation, you know, including Peter Dutton, who basically spends his day looking for things to be angry and negative about, and he's done it again in this instance, rather than taking a constructive approach. He's taken the usual angry, divisive and negative approach, and he's made that accusation that you just repeated. And what it neglects, what it ignores, is that half the premiers during COVID were Liberal Party premiers. And so that accusation that people have made just doesn't stack up.
Into your wheelhouse, Treasurer, big surplus, that is good news. So how much of that, though, is down to you as opposed to circumstances, i.e. mining and bigger tax intakes driven by inflation?
Well, what matters, Pete, is when you get an improvement in revenue, that like we have had as a consequence largely of a stronger labour market, but also good prices for our exports. What matters is what you do with that. And what we've been able to do is to bank almost all of it, to get the budget in much better nick at the same time as we're rolling out billions of dollars in cost of living help. Our predecessors used to spend most of these revenue upgrades. We have banked almost all of it. And that's because we want to pay down some of this Liberal Party debt that we inherited We are rolling out cost of living help, and we're also getting the budget in much better nick because the coming year or two in the global economy will be especially uncertain. We've got the budget in better nick. We're rolling out cost of living help, and that puts us in a stronger position.
So with that said, are you considering extra cost of living relief measures now, or are you going to keep on banking it?
Oh, our focus is rolling out literally billions of dollars right now in cost of living help. That's the government's number one
But any
priority.
we don't know about?
Is to take... No, we're working on rolling out the cost of living relief that I've budgeted for at the same time as we've got this surplus. It will help take some of the edge off these cost of living pressures without adding to them. That's a key part of our economic plan, as is getting the budget in much better nick at the same time. We've been able to do both of those things, cost of living help and a big surplus, to get the budget in better nick at the same time.
Okay, let's finish on a lighter note here, Treasurer. Are you a gambling man?
Not anymore, no. But I'm looking forward to a big weekend of footy.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. You go the double? Are you going the double, the Brisbane double?
I couldn't because the AFL in their wisdom are starting the Lions game after 5 and the Broncos start at 7:50. And so I was going to do the double when I thought it was going to be 4 and 8, but it's more like 5 and 8, and that's going to make it too tough. I'll be at the Broncos and I'll watch the Lions on the TV as well. It's so amazing. 2 Brisbane prelims on the same afternoon is absolutely magnificent, and I'm quietly confident we'll get the Lions and the Broncos through.
Brilliant. I agree.